Sarah froze mid-step when she overheard her name. The man's commanding presence and tailored suit contrasted sharply with the busy, casual bustle of the hospital. "That would be me," she said cautiously, stepping forward. The man turned, his sharp eyes softening as he offered her a handshake. "I'm Charles Thompson, Rose's grandson. She told me everything about what you did for her last night." "Oh," Sarah replied, caught off guard. "I just stayed with her for a little while." She seemed frightened. Charles smiled faintly, but there was an intensity in his expression. "It wasn't just a little while. My grandmother has faced a lot in her life. But last night, you gave her something she hasn't felt in a long time: comfort." Sarah's cheeks flushed as she brushed off the compliment. "It's part of the job." "Really?" Charles shook his head. "No, it's not. Staying 3 hours past your shift, missing your bus home, that's far beyond what's expected. You gave her peace when she needed it most." Before Sarah could respond, a soft murmur swept through the nearby corridors. Turning to look, she noticed a small group of hospital staff and patients gathered, trying to catch a glimpse of what was happening in room 402. Rose's room now had a pair of discreet security guards stationed outside, and the door was slightly ajar. "What's going on?" Sarah asked, her voice tinged with confusion. Charles's expression softened further, though his tone grew serious. "I think there's something you should know about my grandmother." He gestured toward room 402, and Sarah hesitated before following. As they approached, the guards gave Charles a respectful nod, and the door opened slightly wider. Inside, Rose sat upright in bed, looking much more vibrant than she had the previous night. She smiled warmly as Sarah entered. "Sarah, dear," Rose exclaimed, reaching out her hands. "Hi, Rose," Sarah said, smiling back. "You're looking much better today." "Thanks to you," Rose replied, squeezing Sarah's hand. "And thanks to a little luck." Sarah glanced between Rose and Charles, waiting for an explanation. "You didn't know this," Charles began, his voice steady. "But my grandmother isn't just any patient. Rose Thompson is the founder and CEO of Thompson Global Industries." Sarah blinked, struggling to process what she just heard. "Thompson Global," she echoed. It was a name she recognized immediately. The company was renowned worldwide, a leader in everything from renewable energy to philanthropy. "Yes," Rose confirmed, her tone light but sincere. "Though I rarely mention it, especially in places like this. I prefer people see me as I am, not as the name behind a corporation." Sarah felt a whirlwind of emotions: surprise, confusion, and even a little embarrassment. "I had no idea," she stammered. "I would have treated you the same regardless." Rose's expression softened. "That's exactly why your kindness meant so much to me. You didn't stay with me because of who I am. You stayed because of who you are." Charles stepped forward, pulling a folder from under his arm. "Sarah, you changed my grandmother's night. And honestly, you've changed the way our family views kindness in healthcare. We'd like to repay you, not just with words, but with action." Sarah held up her hands, instinctively stepping back. "I didn't do it for a reward. Please, there's no need." "It's not about a reward," Rose interjected, her tone firm yet gentle. "It's about ensuring people like you have the support you deserve to keep spreading kindness." Charles opened the folder, revealing a neatly typed document. "We're starting a new initiative, the Thompson Care Foundation. It will fund programs to support hospital staff, provide resources for overworked nurses, and expand community health services. And we'd like you to be part of it." Sarah's breath caught. "Me?" "Yes," Charles said, nodding. "We want you to help shape the foundation, using your experiences to guide its development. And as a token of gratitude, we're also covering your mother's medical bills." "Completely." Sarah's legs felt weak, and she gripped the edge of Rose's bed for support. I don't know what to say." Rose reached for her hand, her eyes twinkling. "Say yes, dear. Say you'll accept help for once. You've earned it." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. For years, she had given everything she had to care for her patients and her mother, often putting herself last. Now, for the first time, someone was giving back. I don't know if I deserve all this, Sarah whispered. You deserve more than this, Rose replied firmly. And I suspect this is just the beginning. By the time Sarah left room 402 that day, the weight of her struggles felt lighter. The news of the Thompson Care Foundation spread quickly, sparking hope and excitement among the hospital staff. And as Sarah walked down the corridor, her head held high, she realized that one small act of kindness truly could change the world, starting with her own. Sarah sat stunned as Rose continued speaking, her warm smile radiating the kindness that mirrored Sarah's own. This scholarship program will bear your name, Sarah, Rose said. The Sarah Carter Nursing Scholarship Fund will help aspiring nurses who face financial difficulties achieve their dreams. Just like you're achieving yours now. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes again. I don't know how to thank you, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. You've already thanked me, Rose replied, patting Sarah's hand gently. By showing the world what true compassion looks like. This is my way of ensuring that more nurses like you are given the chance to thrive and make a difference. The hospital director, still standing near the door, nodded in agreement. Sarah, your story will inspire not only our staff but the entire healthcare community. I can't think of anyone better to lead this initiative with Mrs. Thompson. As the meeting progressed, Mr. Parker meticulously went over the contract, the salary, the benefits, and the responsibilities were far beyond anything Sarah had dared to imagine. The role wasn't just a job, it was an opportunity to revolutionize patient care. You'll have a team of experienced nurses to support you, Mr. Parker assured, and training sessions to help you transition smoothly into this leadership role. Your first task, Rose interjected with a twinkle in her eye, is to ensure I get the best care during my recovery. Consider it a warm-up for the big responsibilities ahead. Sarah laughed softly, still overwhelmed but beginning to feel a flicker of excitement. I'll do my best, she promised. Your best is already more than enough, Rose replied. As the meeting wrapped up, Rose's care team arrived to prepare her for surgery. Sarah stayed by her bedside until Rose was wheeled away, offering comforting words and a reassuring squeeze of her hand. Once the room was quiet, Sarah stepped out into the hallway. The other nurses, who had been peeking in from time to time, erupted into applause. You're a hero, Sarah, one of them called out. I can't believe you're going to be working with Rose Thompson, another exclaimed. Sarah's cheeks flushed. I'm just doing my job, she said modestly. But deep down, she knew this moment was extraordinary, a turning point in her life she could never have anticipated. As she walked to the break room, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from her landlord. Payment received. Your rent is fully covered for the next 6 months. Sarah smiled, knowing exactly who was behind the gesture. The following weeks were a whirlwind. Sarah balanced her current shifts with orientation sessions for her new role. The scholarship fund's announcement made headlines, and Sarah's story spread far and wide, inspiring nurses across the country. One afternoon, while preparing for a staff meeting, Sarah received a delivery at the hospital, a bouquet of vibrant flowers with a card that read, Your kindness changed my life. Now, let's change others together. Rose. Sarah placed the card on her desk, feeling a surge of gratitude. She thought about her late nights studying to become a nurse, the countless sacrifices she and her mother had made, and the long shifts she worked to make ends meet. It had all led to this, a chance to create lasting change. When Rose's surgery was successfully completed, Sarah was there to oversee her recovery. Together, they brainstormed ways to implement compassionate care policies across Thompson Medical Center. Rose valued Sarah's insights, ensuring that her voice was heard at every level. Months later, at the official opening of the Thompson Medical Center's new wing, Sarah stood alongside Rose during the ribbon-cutting ceremony. The wing was dedicated to patient-centered care, with Sarah's name etched on a plaque at the entrance. In her speech, Rose addressed the crowd. Kindness doesn't require wealth or status. It simply requires a willing heart. Sarah Carter showed me the profound impact of a single act of kindness. She reminded me why healthcare is more than just medicine. It's about humanity. The audience erupted in applause as Sarah stepped forward, her heart pounding with pride. That evening, as she returned home to her mother, who was now healthier than she had been in years, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her here. It had all started with a quiet moment in room 402, a simple decision to stay when she could have left. And now, as she looked at the future before her, Sarah realized that the true power of kindness wasn't in expecting something in return. It was in the ripple effect it created, touching lives, inspiring change, and making the world a little brighter. Sarah's journey began with a simple decision to stay by a scared patient's side, yet it transformed into a testament to the power of compassion. As she adjusted to her new role as head of patient care services, Sarah carried the same humility and warmth that had endeared her to patients and staff alike. One evening, as Sarah reviewed applications for the nursing scholarship program, she paused at an essay written by a young man named James. His story mirrored her own struggles, balancing education, work, and caring for a sick parent. Her eyes misted as she read his words. "I want to make a difference, not just in medicine, but in people's lives." Inspired, Sarah called James personally to inform him of his acceptance. His voice cracked with gratitude over the phone. "Thank you, Miss Carter. This means everything to me." The scholarship program was quickly becoming a beacon of hope. Under Sarah's guidance, it not only supported students financially, but also nurtured a culture of empathy in the next generation of nurses. Her approach to patient care, rooted in genuine kindness, was being woven into the very fabric of Thompson Medical Center. Rose Thompson continued to play an active role in the hospital, often joining Sarah for rounds. During one such visit, they stopped to speak with a young mother whose child had just undergone surgery. As Rose comforted the woman, Sarah reflected on how deeply Rose's presence impacted patients. "You've given this hospital more than just resources, Rose," Sarah said later during lunch. "You've given it a soul. And you've given it a heart," Rose replied, her eyes twinkling. Sarah's personal life also flourished. Her mother's health improved steadily, and their bond grew even stronger. They spent weekends exploring the city, visiting parks, and enjoying quiet evenings at home. The new apartment, once a symbol of change, now felt like a sanctuary filled with laughter, love, and hope. One day, while visiting her mother's doctor, Sarah met an older nurse who shared stories about Rose's late daughter. "She was just like you," the nurse said, "always putting others first. Rose sees her in you. You know." The words stayed with Sarah as she walked through the hospital halls that evening. She felt a renewed sense of purpose, a responsibility to honor the trust Rose had placed in her. As the months passed, Sarah's influence expanded beyond the hospital. She became a sought-after speaker at healthcare conferences, sharing her insights on compassionate nursing. Her story inspired countless nurses to prioritize empathy in their practice, transforming patient care in facilities far beyond Thompson Medical Center. One evening, after a particularly long day, Sarah stopped by room 402, now occupied by a new patient. She adjusted the woman's blankets, sat by her bedside, and listened to her worries. The quiet moments reminded Sarah of that first night with Rose. It was a full-circle moment, a reminder of why she had chosen this path. "Thank you for staying," the patient whispered as Sarah prepared to leave. Sarah smiled softly. Everyone deserves someone to stay. As she walked back to her office, the hospital buzzed with life. Staff moved with purpose. Patients rested comfortably, and the walls seemed to hum with the energy of care and connection. Sarah paused, looking around, feeling a profound sense of fulfillment. Her life had changed in ways she couldn't have imagined. But amidst all the transformations, one thing remained constant: her unwavering belief that kindness, no matter how small, could spark extraordinary change. And as she glanced at the plaque bearing her name outside her office, she knew this was just the beginning of her journey.